Hi everyone. It's great to see you again. Thank you for taking the time to join us today. Today, we have a brand new story to share with you. So, let's get started. Thanksgiving was meant to be a night of thanks. A chance to eat with family and friends and be thankful for what we had. But I didn't think my wife would make me the major joke of the night while I was sitting at the dinner table with people I had known for years. Things were going well with the meal. Everyone was laughing, having fun, and telling stories. I was talking to my brother-in-law when all of a sudden my wife's voice came through the room. She spoke out loud and smiled, "Oh, come on. You guys should be grateful. You should be happy that you have something fun going on. What goes on in our bedroom is a different story." There was quiet for a second, then a few laughs. Some people tried to hide how funny they were by sipping their drinks or looking down at their food, but it was too late. That's exactly how my wife wanted her words to hit. She threw me under the bus just to make herself laugh. Even though it was getting hot in my face, I tried to stay calm. I looked around the table and saw people with awkward looks on their faces and grins that were hard to hide. Some guests moved around in their seats in an odd way, while others looked at me quickly to see what I would do. I could have said something then, but why? It would make things worse to call her out in front of everyone. To hide how upset I was about the comment, I raised my glass, took a slow sip, and played along. Something changed on the inside, though. This wasn't just a crude joke. It wasn't just a quick comment made in the heat of the moment. It was done on purpose. The worst part? It wasn't the first time. It made me think of other times she had said similar things, maybe not as directly, but still enough to slowly destroy my pride. She never did it alone, she always did it in front of people, like her family, friends, or coworkers. I had always let it go. But this? This was different. Even though the night went on, I wasn't there anymore. I laughed when I had to and spoke when someone spoke to me, but my mind was somewhere else. I saw how she kept talking as if nothing had happened, as if making fun of me was just another normal conversation for her. I got up to help when the meal was over and everyone was cleaning their plates. I moved like a machine, stacking dishes and bringing them to the sink. My wife was still talking with some friends and didn't seem to mind at all. It was like she had never been through that moment. But that's when I decided things would be different. The house was very quiet after the last guests left and the front door shut. Aside from the mess of empty plates, half-drunk drinks, and folded napkins, the warmth and noise of the Thanksgiving party were gone. My mind was still going over what had happened at the dinner table as I rinsed a plate under the tap in the kitchen. Something, anything, she had to say. There was nothing, not even a regret or a casual nod to what she had done. She walked in humming to herself and grabbed a few glasses from the bar as if she hadn't just made fun of me in front of everyone. After drying my hands, I turned off the water faucet and finally broke the quiet. "So, was that little joke at dinner really necessary?" I asked in a calm voice. She didn't even look up. "Don't be so sensitive, okay? It was only a joke." I slowly nodded and let out a breath through my nose. "That's right, a joke, and making fun of me in front of our family and friends. Do you find that funny?" She laughed and threw the glasses in the sink. "Please don't worry, nobody was interested. It looks like you really think I insulted you. Everyone was having fun. It wasn't really a big deal." I clenched my teeth and stared at her, not understanding how she could be so careless about it. No one cared. I sure as hell did. You know what? I could have gone on and said that this wasn't the first time she did something like this. I stopped myself, though. What was the point? She wasn't paying attention. She didn't listen. Without a thought, she grabbed a bottle of wine from the bar, poured herself a glass, and drank a sip. "It seems like you're exaggerating," she said with a shrug. "You always do." That was it, the way she always twisted things to make me feel like I was the problem, that I was fussy and emotional. I had let things go for years. I didn't pay attention to the jabs, the passive-aggressive comments, or the way she avoided me when I tried to tell her how I felt. But tonight, something felt different. I didn't fight back. I stopped trying to move the talk along. After looking at her for a moment, I turned around and left the kitchen. I went upstairs, took my tie off, and sat down on the edge of the bed. The house was quiet again, but I couldn't stop thinking about it. I kept thinking about how simple it was for her to fool me and how sure she was that I wouldn't fight her. For a long time, she was right. I looked in the mirror across the room and saw myself. I felt something shift that I hadn't felt in a long time as I looked at the guy in front of me. This time, I wasn't going to let this go. Like always, I got up earlier the next morning. I didn't wake her up. As I got dressed and left the bedroom, I didn't even look at her. There was no reason to talk about the night before again like that. It was clear that she didn't care. Without making coffee or checking my email first, I just grabbed my keys and left the house. I drove right to the gym instead. I hadn't been there in weeks, maybe even months. Stress from work, family, and a marriage where I felt like an ornament rather than a partner got in the way. But as I stood in front of the gym, I understood something. I had not only let go of my body, but also my mind. After getting inside and becoming a member, I got to work. It was rough the first few days. My muscles hurt, and I was out of breath faster than I remembered. I kept going, though. It wasn't just about getting in shape. It was about getting back something I had lost. Every rep and drop of sweat helped me remember that I was in charge again. I made some other changes, at first small ones, outside of the gym. I started dressing better by getting rid of my old, worn-out pants and loose t-shirts and replacing them with clothes that fit me well and looked good on me. I cut my hair, which is something I hadn't thought about in years. I paid attention to my stance and how I walked. I didn't tell anyone at home about these changes. I didn't ask for her permission or even notice how she felt. But I saw that she started to look at me more closely. She didn't say much at first. When I got home from the gym, she just looked at me. She might have looked at me a little longer when I walked by. I knew she saw me, though, so I kept going. I did more work and took on new projects at work. There was no intention to impress anyone, I just wanted to remind myself of what I could do. I got back in touch with friends I hadn't talked to in a while. I started making plans without asking her what she thought or making sure it would work for her. I had been living in a way that made things easier for her for years. But now, I was taking care of myself now. When I got home from the gym one night, I went into the kitchen to get a bottle of water. She had her phone open on the table and was scrolling through it when she saw me. She put it down and turned her head. She said, "You've been going to the gym a lot lately." Her voice was light, but there was something else in it. After taking a sip, I turned the cap off my water bottle. "Yes." She waited as if she thought I would say something else. She tried to laugh when I didn't. "What made that happen?" I shook my head and leaned against the counter. Thought it was time for a change. Her eyes looked at me for a moment, and I noticed something new in her face for the first time in a long time. Not knowing. That was all I said. I didn't need to. I just took another drink of water, smiled, and walked past her, leaving her to wonder what was going to happen next. I kept moving forward over the next few weeks. I didn't slow down. I didn't say what I meant. I didn't want her approval, and that seemed to bother her the most. She started to pay more attention to me. She watched me come home, looked at my phone when it rang, and made casual comments about how I was behaving differently. But I wasn't really there. I was different. I wasn't going to wait any longer for her acceptance. She tried to make it seem like she didn't care at first. I could see that it was bothering her, though. She crossed her arms and leaned against the doorframe one night as I was getting ready to leave, which I never did without first asking her. "Where are you going?" She asked in a friendly way, but I could tell she was nervous because of the look on her face. "Out," I said as I buttoned my shirt. "Who is it with?" I put on my watch after getting it from the cabinet. "Some coworkers I know." She laughed quickly and shook her head. "You never went out like this before." Through the mirror, I looked into her eyes. I guess I didn't. I saw how her lips were pressed together. She wasn't used to this. She got used to being in charge and to knowing that I would always be there for her and do what she wanted. But now she was the one who wasn't sure. The next night, she sat down next to me in the living room while I was checking my messages. She said in a softer voice, "You've been really busy lately." I said yes. Yes. She thought for a moment before speaking again. "Feel free to talk to me if something is wrong." That made me almost laugh. She was ready to talk now. For years, she ignored me and brushed me off whenever I tried to talk about how I felt. Now that she could feel the shift happening and that she was losing control, she tried to get me to take the bait, but I didn't. That's not what I did. I didn't tell her everything was okay. I looked at her, held her gaze for a moment, and then turned back to my phone. That quiet said more than any words could. After that, she tried even harder. At first, she did little things like cook dinner more often, talk about old times and places we used to visit when things were better. She tried to act like nothing had changed and that we could go back to how things were before. But I wasn't going along with it. While we were sitting on the couch one night, she reached out and grabbed my hand. She hadn't done that in months, or maybe even longer. I didn't pull away, but I also didn't hold on. Because I wasn't being chased for the first time in a long time. After that night, the changes in her behavior were easier to see. She put in more effort, but it wasn't because she loved him or really wanted to help. It was because they were scared. Not wanting to lose power. Fear of not being in charge anymore. She would praise me for no reason, which hadn't happened in years. She would look at me like I was a stranger she was trying to figure out and say, "You look good today." I would just nod and say, "Thank you," without getting excited or eager. She began texting me more during the day to find out about my plans and when I would be home. Before, she didn't care much. She didn't really care if I got home late from work. Now, she was suddenly interested in where I was. She leaned against the doorway one night and watched me tie my shoes as I got ready for the gym. She told me that you're really committed to getting fit. I said yes. Yes. She thought for a moment before speaking again. "Do you need to do this for someone?" I stopped and looked at her. Something I had never heard before was the fear in her voice. It was clear in her eyes. Her question was whether I had already moved on and found someone else. I didn't answer right away. I let the space between us be quiet. Then I got up, took my keys, and told them I was going to do this by myself. That was the truth. That answer didn't please her. What she wanted me to say was something that would make her feel safe again, something that would let her know she was in charge again. For some reason, I wasn't making her happy. After that, she started to push harder. She made my favorite food, which she hadn't done in years, one night. Before I sat down, she set the table, lit the lights, and even poured me a drink. I took a bite. It was good. It had always been that way. I wasn't going to act like this was a quick fix, though. I said in a calm voice, "That's nice." She smiled, feeling better. It seemed likely to me. Sometimes things don't go as planned between us, but maybe we need to spend more time together. I let her talk. She told me how things could get better and how we could work on them. But it became clearer to me as she talked that she wasn't sorry. You could tell she wasn't aware of what she had done. What she wanted to do was just put things back the way they were, which I didn't want. In the evening, she reached for my hand again, and I let her. I didn't hold on, though, because I knew something she didn't. I was not the same man she had put down for years, and I would never be that man again. It was clear that things had changed between us now. She felt it the same way I did. The difference was that I agreed with it. The fight was still going on. She started planning dinners and weekend trips for us at the last minute, which was something she had never done before. We were different when she was in charge, and she wanted to go back to that time. But that person was no longer there. When she got home one night, she was early. She sat down next to me while I was reading in the living room. I thought she began to tuck her hair behind her ear. We might want to take a trip. Only us. Leave for a while. I put down my book and looked at her. Why now? She gave a shrug and tried to smile. I feel like we need it. Need it. I understood what she meant. It was important to her. She had to believe that she could still get me to move again. That a few love acts would help fix the damage she had done. I didn't want to play pretend, though. I told them that I didn't think that was a good idea. Her smile got shaky. Why not? I let out a sigh and put down the book. I'm done. The words hit both of us hard. She blinks, as if she's trying to understand what I said. What are you done with? Her voice was getting softer as she asked. My arms were on my knees as I leaned forward. That's it. We can no longer act like what happened at Thanksgiving was a joke. I'm done forgetting the years of bad behavior you've shown me. I'm done being the guy you can count on. Her face got tight. That's it, right? Are you giving up on us now? I laughed a little and shook my head. You stopped caring about us a long time ago. The only change is that I finally saw it. She opened her mouth as if to argue, but then she shut it again. She could have known I was right. It's possible that she was too tired to fight anymore. She did nothing for a long time. She took a deep breath, then nodded. What should I do now? I sat up and let out a breath. I'm moving on now. I did. Over the next few weeks, they worked on getting things in order and imagining what their life would be like without her. But to be honest, I had already moved on a long time before we talked. The moment she made fun of me at Thanksgiving, something inside me changed. Ever since then, every action I took and decision I made had led me to this place. Where my life would not be based on how she saw me. To a life I made for myself. You must be wondering what happened on that terrible Thanksgiving day. The split was a mess. Lawyers, fights, and sharing out the property. As you might expect from a marriage that had been coming apart for a long time, neither of us owned up to it. It wasn't nice for her. To begin with, she tried to act like it didn't bother her. Then she got angry, made charges, and felt like she had to fix something right away because she had been breaking it for years. It was too late, though. It wasn't easy to leave, but staying would have been worse. And now? I'm now living my own life. Stop being afraid of everything. No more making other people laugh with jokes about you. Why did I put myself back together? Not to get back at someone or make a point, but because I deserve better. I want to make it easy for you if you're not sure if it's worth it to get your self-respect back. Yes, it is. Our story is over. Do you want to join our group if you've made it this far? It really helps us a lot. I've picked out 2 more videos that I think you'll enjoy. You are welcome to click on them. I look forward to seeing you in the next story. Have a nice day.